money.
Very, very quick lap from Trulli, and he's going to go comfortably fastest.
Monaco maestro Jarno Trulli hits the right note again in qualifying. He's determined not to be a one-hit wonder. Takuma Sato gave Michael Schumacher the elbow in Monte Carlo. A week on, they start side by side.
It isn't going to be pole, but is it front row? Yes, it is. He's done it.
But it's the world number one who leads that 180-mile-an-hour charge to the first corner.
Michael Schumacher will go fastest.
Pole number 60 then for Michael Schumacher.
He's back on home soil and focused on showing he is the boss. Welcome to the Nürburgring for the 7th race of F1 2004, the European Grand Prix. Welcome to the paddock. Hello there. We being a bit greedy, hoping for a repeat of last weekend's magnificent Monaco Grand Prix. Probably so, but at least there's some light at the end of the tunnel for Michael Schumacher's challengers. 5 wins, then a 0-0 in Monte Carlo. Still a 12-point margin between the 6-times champion and teammate Barrichello. Very close between Button and Trulli for third. Montoya, he's been pretty moody here all weekend. Alonso blames Ralf Schumacher for ending his race in Monaco. Sato's BAR on the front row. And Sato, the first Japanese driver ever to start a Grand Prix from there. Tony Jardine with me. A lot of attention on Jarno Trulli. Poor chap, he's lost his voice, but Craig, he can still drive a bit.
He can. He's using his hands and his feet very well indeed. But he was second here in 1999 at this circuit, and that was his best ever until Monte Carlo and that great win. But he has to prove that he's not just a great qualifier, he is a consistent racer. The extraordinary thing is that Flavio Briatore, the Renault Formula One boss, has not yet conceded to give him a seat to next year. He said he hasn't done quite enough yet. He has to prove it to us. He's showing a clean pair of heels to Fernando Alonso. He got a great, there's Alonso looking out. He thought, well, that's a great time for my teammate. He's really, I think, turned the corner.
We watch out for both Renaults at the start. We saw that great battle in Monte Carlo. Jenson Button following him home at Jarno Trulli. It didn't go Button's way, particularly in qualifying, though.
No, but yesterday morning in the first 2 sessions, he looked effortless. He looked very smooth, as he does. And there's David Richards, the team principal, looking on the aerodynamic developments. He was shaking his head because there was a slight mistake from Jenson there on the curbs, lost a couple of tenths. He's lost grip all weekend, he said. A bit of a mystery for the team and for Jenson Button, but I'm sure he'll race very well.
And Ferrari have pulled out all the stops to put Michael Schumacher on pole here.
Listen, Jim, Michael Schumacher is really, really upset about Monte Carlo. He was embarrassed. He came out of the tunnel on 3 wheels. All the sirens went off on the boats. They cheered in the press office. He is determined to rub everybody's nose in the red Ferrari dirt here. And this scintillating lap really got the fans going. A tremendous pole position.
Not sure how much fuel he had on board, over 2 seconds quicker than Raikkonen's pole here last year. And Taku is there. Possible mayhem up front.
Well, it could be a great start from Takuma Sato. He nudged, in fact, elbowed our friend Michael Schumacher out of the way at Monte Carlo. Some claimed he jumped the start. But you've got to remember that Michael Schumacher had already set this lap, and Ferrari even cheered him then. And he knew that Schumacher had set this scintillating time, and he still went out and put a lovely lap together.
Both BARs on the first 3 rows. Big day for Honda. It was 40 years ago that they made their F1 debut here at the Nürburgring. Let's have a word with the BAR boss, David Richards.
Yes, Jim, and David, that relationship with Honda's coming along very nicely now, very powerful.
No, it's a very strong relationship now. We've been working at it for some little time now, and you can see the fruits of it now as the team gels together, the two organisations really working as one unit.
When Honda see the progress that you've made with the car, do they tend to put more effort and more finances into the engine and the team as a whole?
Well, I don't think they could, because they're making enormous efforts already on the engine side, and the acceleration and the sort of progress in this area is faster than the space race used to be. You know, the Russians versus the Americans. They're frantically working on the engines back in Japan, but they also have engineers working with us in England, integrated within our organisation, cooperating with our engineers.
Very briefly, do you fancy Taku for his first podium here today?
It would be a great day to have him on the podium today. He deserves it, that's for sure.
Have a good race.
Thank you.
He deserves it. It is an instant rematch between Takuma Sato and Michael Schumacher. Some very unusual characters down the back of the grid as well. Tony's got all the details.
How about this for a potentially explosive front row? Michael Schumacher on pole for his home Grand Prix, and alongside him with his and Japan's best ever grid slot, Takuma Sato second. I wonder if he'll elbow Michael out of the way, just like he did in Monte Carlo. And third with a great view, Trulli. Fourth, a resurgent Raikkonen's McLaren. Fifth, Button after a loss of grip. And sixth for Alonso's Renault. Barrichello's Ferrari seventh, his worst in 13 starts. Eighth and ninth, Juan Pablo Montoya and Ralf Schumacher off the pace. Panis and D'Amato 10th and 11th. Klean's Jaguar 12th, 13th Heidfeld. Jordan's best grid this year. Webber after 1 second penalty 14th. 15th Pantano, 16th Massa, and at the back 4 drivers suffering engine change penalties. Baumgartner, DC, Fisichella and Bruni. Coulthard, his worst ever official qualifying position, 18th.
We reckon David Coulthard might just move up a spot to 17th. All season, though, we've been unhappy with the qualifying procedure. It is going to change, and it's going to be some shake-up as well. There's going to be 2 25-minute sessions, no fuel restrictions. The times will be added up to decide the grid positions for the Grand Prix. And crucially, the cars will be allowed to refuel and to change tyres on the Sunday before the race. And we expect these proposals to be ratified next month and to be in place for the British Grand Prix. That is on July the 11th. No matter, though, how they tinker with qualifying, it is the race itself that really matters. There will be no complaints if we get a repeat of that Monaco extravaganza.
Go! Great start by both of the Renaults. Look at Sato around the outside.
Michael Schumacher down to 6th then.
That's cleared. He's gone off.
There's something smoking on the back of Sato's Honda.
The Honda engine lets go of Takuma Sato. Oh, we've got a crash. A big one.
Fisichella out of the car. Looked like going through fog on the M1. Fisichella just didn't slow down.
David Coulthard out of the car. They cannot repair it.
In comes the safety car. We'll be green flag racing in Monaco.
I think this is a race-ending problem for Mark Webber.
Oh, he's gone offline, passing a car in the tunnel, got on the marbles and straight in the wall.
And a very big impact for the Renault driver. Michael Schumacher did not pit under the safety car, and he leads the Grand Prix here in Monaco. Hang on, this is Michael Schumacher. We're not even racing. Michael Schumacher has hit the wall and has knocked off his left front wheel and is out of the Monaco Grand Prix. It's between Jarno Trulli and Jenson Button. Which one of these two men is going to win their first Formula One Grand Prix? There is the checkered flag, and Jarno Trulli is going to win his first ever Grand Prix.
The real reason Michael was so angry at retiring at Monaco was that Ferrari were hatching an audacious strategy to try and win the race. When the safety car came in, Michael would have had 17 laps in which he was going to try and build an 18-second cushion over Jarno Trulli. That would have given him just enough time to make a final pit stop and still come out ahead.
At least it gave us a chance, and sitting behind Jarno was not going to give us any chance at all. So, you know, when you start to push, we would have to push, Jarno would have to push, maybe something happened.
He must have broken his helmet, chucking it against the back of the pit wall.
I think he was angry because we'd been talking about what he had to do. And so he knew what he had to do, and he was taking a deep breath and getting ready to do it. So it was very frustrating.
Not Ferrari getting the headlines if you're a reader of the Wokingham Times. As you suggested in Monaco, Jarno Trulli, absolutely huge. The Binfield ace. Explain it all to us, Tony.
The Binfield bullet. Well, Binfield is near Wokingham, and this, of course, is his local paper. And Binfield is next to Winkfield, where I live, and we're still waiting for him to come into the local pub and celebrate with us, to be honest.
I'm sure he will after that, and he'd be welcome to the Wokingham Times any day, I would imagine. But how's Jarno Trulli been affected by that Monaco victory? What's he been doing since he was showered in champagne in Monte Carlo? Let's find out from Louise Goodman.
Jarno Trulli's first victory in Formula One has been over 7 character-building years in the making.
Confidence really brings success in itself, and I think, you know, that first win is a real cornerstone.
But the victory from pole wasn't quite that easy. 2 safety car periods cost valuable time, and Button was ever present in the closing laps.
It's sometimes difficult when things go against you, and of course the safety cars really did go against him. He lost everything he gained, and that can be quite demoralising, so you need to have the strength of character to say, this doesn't matter, I'm just going to do it again. He concentrated, he won. What more can you ask?
The fun continued after Monaco as Jarno paid homage to the Renault workforce in France. After a few celebrations and constant media attention, Jarno was literally lost for words by the time he arrived at the Nürburgring. Press interviews have been cancelled this weekend so Jarno can save his voice for race day, but there's a backup plan just in case.
We'll have to have some code systems of radio presses. It's going to be difficult, interesting, but we'll achieve it.
So you've got kind of a Formula One Morse code going on in the car?
Absolutely. I hope I can understand it.
Could have to use that Morse code, you know. He was still struggling to get a word out to us this morning, Jarno Trulli.
It's going to be interesting, isn't it, when he sends the radio signals? They're going to confuse a gargle with a croak, aren't they? But hopefully it'll be fine.
We're going to watch him very closely at the start. At least this is a circuit where you can overtake. Remember that great manoeuvre last year? The magazine F1 Racing voted it manoeuvre of the year, Montoya on Michael Schumacher.
Yeah, we've always said, you know, if you put Michael Schumacher under pressure, which Juan Pablo Montoya is brilliant at doing. This time last year, look at this. Michael Schumacher trying to keep the inside line down through Dunlop and braving it out on the outside, Juan Pablo Montoya. Of course, David Coulthard's done it before, Villeneuve's done it before, but you've got to have the equipment to do that job.
And this afternoon, Takuma Sato and Jenson Button will both hope to follow Montoya's example and put one over on the World Championship leader. They've done pretty well in qualifying, have BAR. Takuma Sato in particular, he is on the front row this time, had to follow Schumacher in qualifying. The BAR garage appreciated his drive. Button starts 5th, both very much in shape to extend the team's excellent run.
Well, Taki, you've done the best ever job in qualifying, but it's big day, race day today. How difficult is it going to be to beat Michael? Because that's the job you've got ahead of you.
Well, it is difficult, but also at the same time I'm really looking forward to going side by side with Michael into the turn 1. Obviously, Nürburgring is well known. We can do overtaking opportunities, so it's going to be a very exciting one, I think.
Do you expect some argy-bargy into the first corner?
Well, I mean, give it a try, give it go, everything. I mean, this is racing, but it's the best opportunity to me. It's so clean in front. Only Michael, perhaps obviously Jarno is going to come because as a Renault, it's very strong in the start.
Perhaps obviously Jenson as well. He's going to be up there chasing behind you.
A little bit further back though, starting in 5th. So we'll see. But I think it's going to be Michael, Jarno, and Taki into the first corner, all in a row. So it's going to be quite exciting. And then it will be coming down behind. Looking forward to it.
So you can pick your way through that.
Exactly. Yeah, I know. I've got Kimi in front and Alonso behind me, so we're going to have the same sort of problem. He's going to be gaining on me and I'm going to be gaining on Kimi, so we'll see, but it's going to be quite exciting.
And you'll both be aiming for the podium today?
Aye, definitely.
That's our aim anyway. I've never been on podium in F1, but I believe that's the day today for me.
Honda is celebrating their 40th anniversary of their first Grand Prix this weekend. What are the chances of giving them something else to celebrate?
Well, yeah, that'd be fantastic. You know, if we're both on the podium, it'd be great. And you never know, one of us might win, which would be great.
To me, my first podium finish will be a fantastic result.
They can go 3 abreast down that start. Well, if you were with us in qualifying yesterday, you will know we're meeting the Toyota team throughout the weekend. During the race, technical director Mike Gascoigne will be talking to us live from the pit wall. In a moment, we're going to hear from test driver Ricardo Zonta. But first of all, here's the very genial Cristiano D'Amata to introduce us to his team.
Hi, I'm Cristiano. I'm gonna introduce you guys to the people that work in my car. This is Stefan, the electronic guy. He's basically the only guy on the team that I can give a hard time because he's smaller than me. Aki is a composite guy, helps me to do the seat and to build the pieces I break in the car. Woody, front-end mechanic, is always giving me a hard time because all the time I want to change the pedal position. This is Christian, works here on the rear end of the car. Be careful with this man. Vladimir is also rear end here. It's not usually that serious. Now, be careful because this is the boss, right? This is the crew chief, Thomas. I didn't do anything wrong this time, did I? And I think that's it. Only the engineers left.
He never gets to turn a wheel in anger, but Ricardo Zonta is still a key member of Toyota's driver lineup. 31 races with BAR has stood the Brazilian in good stead for his current role.
I'm having fun this year driving Friday. Of course, it's a lot better than used to be before. I'm enjoying a lot with Toyota, I have the chance to show my potential on Friday. So this has been very good for me.
During testing, he's doing a lot of development for us and a lot of tire testing. And on the race weekend, he's playing an important role running the third car, which basically gives us the possibility to have a better tire testing and to try some new items during the race weekend, which we normally wouldn't do with the race drivers.
I think it's quite helpful for us on Friday because we have third car. Ricardo has different program, particularly for tires issue and engine issue. And I'm sure help us to prepare Saturday a little bit better. So I need to trust what he said, even if I have different feeling when I put on, but I need to trust him.
The job I'm doing on Friday, choosing the tires and doing long runs, is very, it's a big pressure for me, by myself, because if you make any mistake or anything, you compromise this job, and this is very important for the team.
There was no harm done in that spin on Friday. Finding the limit is an integral part of testing. Back in the pits, the information Ricardo relates is crucial to understanding the performance of the car.
The front touches the curb, the rear does this. This is snap over steer with both tires, and you cannot do anything.
It's tough not racing, but there are benefits to having Sundays off.
On Saturday, if I don't have anything to do, I can go out with some people, and I don't have the time to go to bed and But if I had to choose, I would prefer to race than do what I'm doing.
It's a day off for Ricardo Zonta. It's a frantic time, though, with the first back-to-back races of the season, and there's a vast contrast between the Côte d'Azur and the Eifel Mountains of rural western Germany. The modern Nürburgring, just over 3 miles round. We're about an hour's drive from Köppen, where Michael Schumacher grew up. He's won here 3 times, and now's your chance to experience the lap that puts him on pole this afternoon.
Let's see Michael Schumacher's pole position lap. Paddock talk was his tyres are very durable for the race, but a bit too hard for qualifying. Let's see how it works out as he heads down to turn 1, the big braking zone, then the hairpin, and so far, absolutely ordinary. Missed the apex there, tyres not up to temperature. See if he can find some grip as he goes to the long turn 2, into the tightening 3, the new section of the track opened up last year. before then, there's an apron on the outside you have to use. 4 wheels off the racetrack. Bring it to the right-hand side for the forward curve. No, it's really hooking up well. It keeps low for the right-hander. Don't know why they don't all do that. It's always been much more grippier in there. Accelerating nicely downhill towards the Dunlop curve. Now the car appears to be working really well. Balance is neutral. Nose goes in well. He's on the throttle early. No apparent oversteer on power. Michael's right hand adjusting the brake balance. The 160 mile an hour fast chicane you're going through, absolutely full throttle. Now over to the right hand side for the bumpy braking zone to turn 10. Stamps on the throttle pedal, brings it to the left for the bit curve. He's faster through there than anybody else in the world and always has been. Another tweak of the brake balance with his right hand because he's got a big stop ahead of him into the Vidal chicane. You must not brake too late, but you can give away 2/10 if it's too early. Takes the curbs brilliantly. The power oversteer on the exit corrects that nicely. The final turn, Coca-Cola launches the car in and the nose turns in beautifully for the second part. Start-finish line ahead, bang, pole position. Annoyingly for him, he could have carried another 4 laps worth of fuel and still been on pole.
Now, Martin would tell you every driver prepares differently for a race day. Some are genial and very outgoing on the morning. Others get that race face on very early indeed. Olivier Panis is one of the most experienced pilots in the paddock, and this is his Sunday morning routine.
We are on the Sunday race. For me, the Sunday is quite a very important day. And my plan is every Sunday morning I wake up about 8 o'clock. I go for a run with the physio for half an hour just to wake up very well. After that I take the shower. I arrive in the circuit about 10 o'clock because we have a technical meeting. Afterward I'm just going to my room to take a already big massage. Before I go into the parade, I look at TV, watch film. And after the parade, we have a very important meeting at 12, the strategy meeting. And after that, I go back to my room, have a small lunch, just be relaxed. I have a massage again before the race, and just keep very concentrated and motivated for the race.
It's a home Grand Prix then for Olivier Panis and everybody at Toyota. That goes for Mercedes as well. Kimi Raikkonen in the McLaren went very well last year. He was in the lead before he blew up. He's starting 4th. He's got a good chance of points. David Coulthard, though, down the back in 17th place. It really has been a topsy-turvy weekend so far.
Good news has been scarce at McLaren this season, but for once there were some positive noises coming from the team, with Kimi Raikkonen fastest and David Coulthard 4th at the end of day 1.
The nature of the track, also the tyres, the whole interaction with the track surface here, and the way the corners are more progressive on entry means that we're able to carry a bit more speed in that entry phase, which I think has been one of the problems on the other tracks.
So it's just the car suits the circuit rather than any specific improvements you've made to the overall package?
I think that there have been a couple of changes which have helped since Barcelona, and what I describe about the nature of this track, and all of a sudden that can unleash lap time.
It unleashed P4 in pre-qualifying, but the high was short-lived before those technical gremlins brought Coulthard back down to earth.
It's disappointing, but in a season like we've had so far, it's not a big surprise because we've had a lot of reliability issues, we've had performance issues, and when you know that there's not a magic fix that we brought to this race weekend, then there's still the possibility that things can go wrong with the engines or with the car.
Explain to us why you opted to sit out the qualifying session rather than use the T-car.
You know, Kimi's qualified 4th, and chances are we're going to be somewhere similar. So if you say you qualified 5th, then that would put you down in 15th, and on the same level of fuel that the guys who are at the front are using. Whereas if you take the decision to change your fuel level, go heavier, start at the back with fresh tyres and a fresh engine, then you have the chance to run longer, which hopefully will get you back in a better position of scoring points.
Running heavy, hoping to run longer. Tony, he's got a chance of scoring, hasn't he?
Yeah, well, there's no question about that, but it's going to be tough.
And Mercedes, how embarrassed are they to come here with the team in the state that it is?
They're very embarrassed. They're acutely embarrassed about it. I mean, they had to turn Kimi's engine off in Monte Carlo. David Coulthard went after that crash as well. David's engine has failed here before qualifying itself. What they're doing is their development at the racetrack as well as the test track. They've just got to do it. They don't have an alternative. They've got to take the heat, I'm afraid.
No quick fix.
I'm afraid there isn't, but they are working on it. They're working very, very hard in Northampton at Ilmore.
Okay, let's continue to meet the Toyota team. They're the only team actually based right here in Germany. Their headquarters in Cologne. That's just a pop down the Autobahn from here, and that is where they continue to try and raise their technical game.
There are just two teams in Formula One who build everything, car and engine, under one roof. First is Ferrari, world champions for the last 5 years. Second, Toyota, and it all comes under the control of two men.
Technical director for the engine is Luca Marmarini. He designed the Ferrari power plants until '99 when he joined Toyota. And in charge of the chassis, Mike Gascoigne. Talented, ambitious and boisterous, Mike has worked for many teams, past and present. Toyota are reported to work on a £200 million budget. Given that figure, the car is underperforming.
I mean, aim to be a top team, to do it the hard way really, is a huge challenge. We're looking to improve this year's car, and we've got a B-spec car coming out for Hockenheim. But also we're reorganising, restructuring, employing people, reprioritising, so that we put more resources in the areas that make us go quicker, and stop doing some of the things that don't make a difference.
Everything has gone very quickly since the beginning. Okay, now we have to get a result, let me say, but so far all things that we planned went quite reasonable.
The Toyota engine is one of the most powerful in Formula One. It's so good that Renault tried to headhunt Luca Marmarini in the middle of last year. Mike Gascoigne knows he has a gem in the back of his chassis.
I believe we've got an engine that's good enough to win world championships and win races. The chassis side of it, we're improving, and certainly by the end of next year we ought to have a car capable of challenging to win races. I've achieved that in the past, and you know, with what we have here at Toyota, I'm pretty confident of achieving that again.
Mike's famous in F1 for not being afraid to bash heads together to get results. There's no dead wood in Gascoigne's operation.
His nickname was the Rottweiler at Jordan.
Yeah, okay.
They could be cuddly as well, though, can't they?
I think sometimes you need to be strong, and I mean, I think we can always find a good way of working together.
I mean, I also then run the race team, you know, and I'm the senior guy at the racetrack, which is probably where I come more into direct contact with the engine guys in terms of operation and what we want to achieve. And there you do have to be strong and have a clear view and a direction of working. But I think, you know, at the operations side, we're trying to get the best result.
And the best result so far at their home race is 10th and 11th on the grid. We'll be keeping in touch with Gascoigne and his strategy throughout the race. The next couple of hours is what Toyota's work is all about.
Toyota are the only team to score with both cars in Monaco. Reading up, that puts them 7th in the constructors. McLaren only 5 points. Enough said. Sauber have 7, then Williams and BAR scrapping it out for 3rd. Renault looking comfy in 2nd, and Ferrari simply a class apart. It's worth a reminder, though, Ferrari spent a long time on the outside looking in before their current dominant era. Things change very quickly in this sport. Take Jordan, for example. Nick Heidfeld picked up their first points of the season last weekend. 5 years ago, though, here, Heinz-Harald Frentzen was on pole. Jordan were in the hunt for the World Championship itself. Frentzen led the European Grand Prix for over 30 laps, then dropped out. Same boss, but different times now. Let's link up with Eddie Jordan.
Very different times, Jim. Eddie, we've just been looking at some pictures of Heinz-Harald Frentzen leading the race here a few years ago. You won 2 races that year. That must seem like a lifetime ago.
Oh, there's some good memories, I suppose. And I think, you know, with the way that the sport is going and that we are really taking notice about costs, and we want to get back to racing, and it can only be good for Jordan that we do and are more mindful of what the costs are. And if we can get that back to a more even playing field, I think it'll be certainly better for us, and we can get back to try and win some races again.
May not have won races, but you did at least get some points in Monaco. That was a good event for you.
Well, Monaco was a bit of a turnaround. We've been looking for every race. We've had ever so slight little improvements all the way through, and Monaco getting the points was a dream. We're further up the grid, we're 13th here. This is a big improvement again. And if we can keep even small increments are so important at this stage for us to get up with the big boys.
Have a good one, EJ.
Thank you.
Heidfeld 13th, Pantano 15th, best qualifying of the season for Jordan. As always, we like you to be involved with us and keep those messages coming, won't you? You can text us as well and ask the team this week. Martin Brundle is in the hot seat on the ITV F1 website. We've asked the Toyota team to respond to a couple of your questions. Email from Bob Tennant, Newport in South Wales. How much does a top-line F1 team spend annually on testing? And we have gone right to the top for the answer.
So Bob, thank you very much for the question. I can't tell you what we spend on testing or our total budget, but as a young team, testing is very important to us. We have 2 test teams, 50 to 60 people working every weekend following each and every Grand Prix. But I have to say, if the other teams would stop testing to reduce costs for Formula One as a whole, we would certainly support that and follow suit.
And the other email question is from Erin Baldwin in Dorking. She asks, what are these massive motorhomes in the paddock actually used for? Well, Erin, let's ask a man who should know the answer.
Morning. Well, what we do here is basically cater for all the guests, sponsors and the media. We provide meals during the day. We provide breakfast, lunch and dinner for about 100 people per day usually. Also, we've got the facilities here for office space, and we've upstairs marketing communications, and for example here we've got logistics and our medical crew. So it's a great advantage to have such a space at the track itself.
And on the track, Olivier Panis will start 10th, Cristiano D'Amata 11th. Just under 20 minutes to go to the start of the race, and the temperature 20 degrees. It has clouded over in the last few minutes, though. How will the European Grand Prix pan out? Let's get the views of our commentators, James Allen and Martin Brundle.
Well, there's 3 very interesting storylines for me going into today's Grand Prix. First of all, let's take a look at Takuma Sato, second on the grid. Terrific effort from him, but he's gone backwards in Grand Prix this year, particularly in Spain. It's a big pressure on him today to deliver on that second-place grid slot, isn't there?
Yeah, he's got a great chance of beating Michael Schumacher down to the first corner, but he mustn't jump the start as he did in Monaco. But it's right to say that we've not seen a race pace from him that matches his single-lap ability at the moment.
Now, Jenson Button, in contrast, seems to be having a few problems with qualifying. Spain, and again here, an open goal for pole position and wasn't able to take it. What do you think's going on there?
There's always a reason for everything, and I'm sure Jenson's analysing why he's not delivering fully in that important qualifying too. But his racing is absolutely superb, as we saw in Monaco last weekend and through the season so far. So I'm confident he'll be there somewhere today.
Now, Michael Schumacher, I'm very interested in this because we think he's gone very aggressive, don't we, on the fuel, perhaps 7 or even 8 laps worth of fuel. And we've seen Ferrari having very poor starts in comparison with Renault and BAR this season. Michael can't afford a compromised start here in this afternoon, can he? Because he's got Rubens Barrichello and also possibly Montoya carrying more fuel. When he comes out from his pit stop, he doesn't want to be anywhere near those guys because they're doing something different today. So he's under pressure, really, isn't he?
He is indeed, not to mention the electric starter Trulli right behind him on the clean side of the grid too. So Michael, I think, has taken a risk to go short on fuel. I think he'd be kicking himself, actually, because he carried too little fuel into qualifying. I think BAR are confident and probably correct in saying that they forced him into that route.
It's amazing to think Michael Schumacher panicking. Who would have thought it?
Panic and Michael Schumacher. Not often you hear that in the same sentence. Michael Schumacher would confirm the modern Nürburgring doesn't compare to its intimidating 14-mile, 174-corner predecessor. It is still, though, a very challenging racetrack. We will be back, continuing our countdown to the start of the European Grand Prix. Just under 15 minutes to go to the start of the European Grand Prix at the Nürburgring. We go straight to David Coulthard. He's with Louise.
Yeah, David's in a very unusual position as well, right at the back of the grid. Have you ever been this far down before?
No, but I've been in a few unusual positions, but this is not one that I'd like to be in. No, it's actually the first time I've started this far down in Formula 1 grid. First time I think I've started at the back since karting when you used to have heats. So it's a bit shocking, I have to say. It's only really sunk in now that I'm this, I can see how far it is to the front.
It's a long stroll back here, isn't it?
It is a very long walk, and obviously I'm used to having Pat Fry say to me, last car in position. Well, he'll be telling me that I'm in position now, and then I guess very quickly afterwards the race will start.
Well, starting from the back, but today's all about getting as close to the front as possible. What have you got up your sleeve to help you get there?
Well, obviously we've adjusted strategy. You can pretty much work out what we've done to try and make sure that we gain positions during the pit stops, and it's just a question of knowing whether you get caught in traffic whilst you're trying to run your strategy.
Traffic was horrendous for everybody in Monaco, but it shouldn't be such a problem here, should it?
Yeah, overtaking very difficult everywhere in Formula 1 because you lose downforce in the corners, so you rely on either having a straight line speed advantage or pretty mega car under braking. I think we have a car that brakes well. Speed-wise, I think we're much of a muchness with the guys around about us.
Well, whatever happens, hope you enjoy it.
Thank you.
I guess, Tony, he will be looking for an employer next season, and Mercedes will hope that he does well from the back there in the McLaren.
Well, that's part of his problem this season, because he hasn't had enough track time to show what he can do. He has the prospects of going to Williams, of going to Toyota, but he's not able to demonstrate his enormous talent.
Another man not sure of a contract, very surprising as well, is Jarno Trulli. Won a Grand Prix for the first time in Monte Carlo last Sunday. An absolute thriller it was as well. Jarno Trulli has lost his voice. Even so, he's doing his best to communicate to Ted.
Well, Jarno, I know you've lost your voice, so I'm just going to ask for a nod or a shake. How's it looking? Is it looking good for the race?
Yeah.
OK, that's a yes. And can you get into the lead, do you think, at the start? Hope so. OK, good. Do you think you can stay out longer than Michael Schumacher? You don't know. Possible, though.
That is quick.
You're going to aim for that. OK, let's carry on. Is the car handling well on a race distance?
Yeah.
Yep. Good stuff. And finally, do you think you can pass anyone at the start? Have a good race, Jarno.
He loves those starts, doesn't he, Tony? And of course, BAR are going to be very much involved in it with Jenson Button as well.
So he truly looks a bit like a ninja turtle, doesn't he, at the moment? That ponytail, Attila the Hun or something like that. Yeah, Jeff Willis we saw a glimpse of there, and Juan Pablo Montoya. He's been very vocal, very critical about the performance of the Williams BMW here. It has to be said, BMW are also suffering on home turf because they're not as quick even as the Honda now, and certainly the Ferrari are pulverising them. They've got a lot of work to do on their engine as well. There's a big conflab, and we saw Flavio Briatore and David Richards on the left who were talking to Bernie in a big conflab this morning about tyres with Pierre Dupasquier, the boss.
And Ferrari here, a lot of Schumi's army are here hoping to see their man deliver, and we can hear from the Ferrari camp now as Niki Lauda gives Michael Schumacher a last-minute pat on the back. Ross Brawn is with Ted.
Yes, indeed, and the entire Ferrari team wearing a black armband here. I don't know if you can see that, Benji, in memory of Umberto Agnelli, of course. It's a nice touch, Ross, but Martin was just talking about Michael. They thought he could go a bit heavier and still have got pole position.
Well, you always know that afterwards.
So he could have done, you think?
Well, of course. I mean, with 6/10 you could have put more fuel in, but you don't know that before the event. But we're happy with the fuel load we have. We'll have to see whether that's crucial. But, of course, the lighter you are at the beginning, the faster you are at the beginning of the race. Better the start should be. It's a long drag down into the first corner. So, theoretically, we could have gone heavier, but we'll see.
Is Michael going to have to do a bit of a blocking job on Trulli?
I don't know if you call it blocking, but...
defending position, maybe.
Yeah, I think he'll have to defend his position, I'm sure. But Monaco, we had a particular problem getting the tyres hot because the tactics of the Michelin runners was to do a really slow formation lap to get the tyres cold, where they have an advantage. Here we've got the initiative of the pole. We can run the formation lap at the speed we feel appropriate and keep the tyres hot. So it shouldn't be so bad here.
And just finally, Rubens, you anticipate a similar race to Barcelona?
Yeah.
OK, thanks very much, Ross.
Those black armbands in memory of Umberto Agnelli, the Fiat chairman who died last week. Tony Jardine, sum up your pre-race thoughts for us.
Well, I think the start is going to be potentially electric. There's a lot of different tactics going on. We're in the midst of the tyre war, as you know, and it's all about the Bridgestone slow starting. But it's a very consistent tyre during the race. The Michelin, as more rubber went down, have got better.
Michael Schumacher, very upset by the way his unbeaten run ended in that tunnel in Monaco. His desire is to re-establish his superiority immediately. Alongside him, Takuma Sato, first Japanese driver ever to start on the front row. Ahead of them, 180-mile-an-hour downhill banzai to the first corner. We have seen scary moments there. The brilliant starters in the mix too. Monaco winner Trulli and Alonso in the Renaults. Fourth, best of the season for Raikkonen. Jenson Button's BAR has the speed. The European Grand Prix is next.